He will secure it from the waist and stow it in the aisle. He then assists the others in stowing equipment until he assumes his ditching position later on. Next, the ball turret gunner. He seats himself directly in front of the bombardier and crouches up as close as he can get to him. The next man in is the right waist gunner. He seats himself beside the bombardier, assuming the same position. Next man in is the left waist gunner. He seats himself in front of the ball turret gunner, his feet propped up against the aft bulkhead. By this time, the navigator has finished stowing the top hatch, and he seats himself in front of the right waist gunner, assuming the same position. The last man in is the tail gunner. You seat yourself in front of the navigator, and he should stay as far to his left as possible, his legs well drawn up, in order to protect himself in case the upper support of the ball turret should break through this aft door. Now the flight engineer assumes his ditching position, which is prone on his back next to the radio operator's seat. His feet pressed against the forward bulkhead, knees slightly bent to absorb the shock. He cradles his head in his hands, elbows out thrust. Spend whatever time you have available in tying equipment to your arms and padding yourselves to absorb the shock. At the last minute, I order radio operator, assume ditching position. The radio operator screws his key down, puts a pad between himself and the radio, and inflates 1/2 of his Mae West as protection against the edge of the table. He remains on intercom so I can transmit orders to the rest of you. This, then, is the position you assume preceding point of impact on the water. A few seconds before the impact, I order radio operator, brace for ditching. Okay, there's the bell. Be ready. Brace for ditching. Don't move until the plane stops. If you do, you're a dead duck. Remember, there are 2 impacts. One when the tail hits, and a second and a more violent one when the fore part of the plane hits. Now hold these positions, and I'll pick it up from the pilot's compartment. Now we're close. Ready for the landing. The tail hits. Now the belly. Don't move until the ship has come to a dead stop. When it does, we all go into action. Hope for a minute to work in, but remember General Twining's plane. It went down in the South Pacific in less than 30 seconds. You may be luckier than that, or you may not. Here's what happens in the pilot's compartment when the ship stops, and it has to happen fast. The pilot and the co-pilot release their shoulder harness. The pilot and co-pilot both leave through their side windows, which are kept closed during the ditching. There's an axe handy if the window wants to argue with us. We don't inflate our Mae West until we're sitting on the window ledge, because if we did it before, we'd have about as much chance of getting through that side window as a sausage through a keyhole. Those in the radio compartment may inflate 1/2 of their Mae West as soon as they get to their feet. In regular ditching, I, as pilot, would go to the left dinghy, take command, and cut the rope. You, as the co-pilot, would do the same to the right dinghy. Tail gunner, you're the first man out. Then you'll be handed the navigator's equipment. Once out, you inflate the other 1/2 of your life vest, but you can skip that now because this is a dry drill. Navigator, you're next. You'll be handed the emergency radio equipment from the right waist gunner. Third man out is that right waist gunner. Take a parachute. Next comes the flight engineer, who takes the E5 kit. Radio operator, you're number 5 out of the ship. Take a life raft kit. 6th man out is you, left waist gunner. You should take B4, first aid kits, and parachute. Ball turret gunner, you're number 7. You take the other life raft kit. You're the only man who doesn't go immediately to his dinghy. You wait to help the bombardier. Hendricks, as bombardier, you're the last man out of the ship. You take the first aid and B4 kits. Now we're through, and we've ditched properly. But let's see how it would look if we could take away the skin of the ship and see everything going on at the same time. We're out over the Pacific. Gas low, no land in sight. We've got to ditch, so we do it while we still have engines to help us. Prepare for ditching, prepare for ditching. First, jettison ammunition. Top turret gunner fires remaining ammunition. Points guns forward. Bombardier opens bomb bay doors, jettisons bombs. Ball turret guns are fired and pointed to the rear. The waist gunners jettison their ammunition, guns, and loose equipment, and tail gunner gets rid of his .50 caliber stuff too. Everyone except the pilot and co-pilot picks up his assigned equipment and heads for the radio compartment. The pilot will try to land the plane along the crest of the swell parallel to the troughs, using not more than half flaps. Just before ditching, the pilot orders the radio operator to assume his ditching position. A few seconds before impact, the pilot orders, "Brace for ditching." Everyone braces. All right, here it comes. The plane hits the water tail first, and then the forward part. As soon as it stops, and not before, pull those dinghy release handles. Everyone gets out fast. Pilot and co-pilot through the side hatches to opposite dinghies. The others through the top hatch in the radio compartment by pairs to their appointed dinghies. Notice the rafts were taken past the flaps so the torn metal won't rip them. It won't always work this way because ships vary and emergencies arise that you can't always anticipate in advance. That's why each crew must practice and learn their own ditching drill. Well, that's it. But remember, no matter how well you know your procedure, it doesn't do any good if your equipment isn't in top condition and stowed properly. Make a complete and thorough inspection before every overwater flight. That means checking the dinghies, checking the emergency provision kits, and checking the emergency radio equipment. Disconnect the CO2 cables from the dinghies and pull the two blue dinghy release handles in the radio compartment to make sure that they'll release quickly. Your drill was okay, except you all made one mistake. You should loosen anything tight around your neck.